Welcome back to another show. Welcome back to another conversation on the Society of Responsible Men. Today, I'm going to start the conversation by asking my team to pick a little bit of good news today, because I feel that the world is a bit upside down. So I think I'm going to start. So my line of good news today is what happened this weekend, where Lewis Hamilton finally wins a Grand Prix. Shady, what do you got?
I think my good news is the fact that you met your hero, George Russell.
I didn't, but okay.
Thank you, ChatGPT. Yeah, look, I think it was a fantastic victory for him. Great for the sport, but also to our topic today, it shows that he's in a healthier place because he's actually in a relationship. Whether we agree with the person that he's dating is a completely different facet of the imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I understand he has been dating, and he's been dating Kim Kardashian, who stole Kimmy's towel. That's another side of good news. Who received a towel from Kim, which was actually quite sweet on her part. But yes, that's my good news today. Silo, what is your good news today?
I woke up. I can't speak on sports or anything like that, so I can only say I got up this morning.
Okay, all right. So today, I just want to remind our viewers, our listeners, that we are trying to define what responsible men are and what they should try and do, or what they should do in order to be respectful, as well as respected, as well as dangerous, as well as and confident. And today there was a very interesting topic that Sila had picked out for us. We'd like to also welcome Sila to the show on a full-time basis, not just throwing a spanner in the works over there. We would have to use another segment one day, so we just have to think about that one. But he picked out a very good topic, and it's called dating. Now, from my understanding of dating, it's a pretty straightforward concept, right? So you find a partner, you court the partner, you establish compatibilities with the partner, you get into a committed relationship, get married, have kids, and that you've closed the circle of dating once you do that. Now, we bring dating into the 21st century, and there's a lot of change I've noticed. So I think it's very difficult for men to be traditional in the aspect, based on our conversation last time. It's very, very difficult for us to keep the tradition of dating in the world, or at least in the 21st century. So I'm out of the dating game for a while now. So I'm gonna let the two of you lead, and I'm going to ask, well, it won't be profound questions, but questions, right? But I'd like to start off the conversation and the topic with what's changed in the dating scene. Tyler, you go.
Well, technology is the thing at the top of my head. Mm-hmm. So basically, at least from my perspective, what you had before, prior to technology, is people limited to their area code, people who they could actually interact with in person. Whereas now you get technology entering the mix, you have a myriad of ways to actually engage with people. So for example, Instagram, Facebook, then there's the dating apps, which is Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, all these ways of initiating a romantic relationship without actually being physically present. And I think that's quite a shift, because dating does involve the physical aspect. And if you're not physically present, then that aspect is kind of removed. Yeah, so that's one of the biggest changes, I would say.
Okay, so you mentioned area code. Now, traditionally, over time, correct, people would pick their partners in the areas that they lived, maybe a few kilometers away. Sure, we talking about. Okay, so if you stay in Sandton, at best you probably, depending on which area in Sandton, you'd find a partner, you'd court the partner, and then you'd allude to a committed relationship. Okay, fine. The other part, now, take it a step further, technology has advanced in some way, and we now have apps. And we have apps in the context of, we have social media apps, which is used for literally anything and everything. And then we have specific niche-based apps, such as your Tinder, your Hinge, Bumble. I feel that I'm missing one, but okay. So you have those apps that are specifically designed to match one another, and you go on a date, irrespective of area code, and then if you catch a flame, then you catch a flame. If you don't, well, there's always another. So, okay, and then it is a shift from the physical aspect. You're not really present during your starting phase.
So you could, not only that, I think a lot of individuals aren't really present for a lot of the relationship. So, for example, yes, the starting phase, but it could also be throughout the relationship. It could be a sort of long distance thing. And that adds the extra complication of other people, you being able to date multiple people at the same time because they're not in the area code. You don't have to be in the physical presence of this individual if it's all sort of online. So you might be dating like 10 people online, if you can handle that.
That's not traditional in the sense, though, right? Okay, so 21st century dating, with the demarcation of area code by the use of apps, enables one person to pretty much court any number of people, or a man to date any number of people to find a specific suitor for himself. And it doesn't seem or sound traditional in its own sense, because I always think about this movie, Chris Kyle, American Sniper. And in that movie, it was really quite fun, because he was in a committed relationship, he wasn't around, but his duty was to be, he was riding bulls. I don't know what the word is.
Rodeo.
He was at a rodeo, and being at a rodeo, he would have to travel within the state of Texas, I'd imagine, or maybe outside of it, I'm not really sure. He comes home, he finds his wife or girlfriend cheating at the time. He meets another girl maybe a couple months later, because we know that Navy SEALs training happens for a prolonged period. He meets another girl at a bar, which is traditionally a common place where you meet your wife, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
I wouldn't say that. I'd say that's a fairly recent kind of thing, because think about it. Beforehand, people, I believe, would meet, in a school setting, so primary school, high school, and then maybe at university. Bars are very, I wouldn't say it's a good place to meet individuals for long-term relationships.
I would say clubs. Those are not very good places to meet long-term people.
I think it also depends on the person, because there's a stigma that you can meet someone in a bar and it's a tacky place to meet. But that could be the person that you would love for the rest of your life. Now, a lot of the time we have this misconception. You meet someone in church, or you meet someone in the temple or the mosque or synagogue, wherever. This is in a religious setting. what do we know? How do you know that that person 8 hours ago was not sitting in a bar, was not hammered, right? So I think is when you meet people, a lot of my friends, particularly in Germany, I've met through certain bars. When you go into the bar, you sit, you enjoy the conversation, you leave. Getting intoxicated, yes, that was where the stigma comes in. But I think when it comes to like even a date, where's a common setup when you ask someone out on a date? You'll say, let's go to a restaurant. Restaurant, unfortunately, has got alcohol in it. So we can stigmatize the bar, but from there, normally you would leave the place and either go to her place or you'd set it up for another date.
But it's also
I'm not stigmatizing the bar. What I'm simply saying that it's quite a difficult thing to walk up to a random stranger at a bar and start a conversation when you don't know the individual.
it's the 21st century. I think people don't have the balls to stand up to anyone.
It's the same like in the gym.
Okay.
Because someone's sitting, you go up to someone in the gym and you can see she's a beautiful woman, but she's got her earpods in her ears.
Right.
Now you don't want to disturb the momentum, right? Because of how everybody is woke culture and all of that shit. So I think regardless of where the setting is, because I've seen, even if you approach someone at church, that person's going to say, oh no, I'm here to listen to the word of God. Or in temple, in synagogue, mosque, whatever. So I think I'm not going to use the luck of the draw, but it is a confidence thing.
I would definitely agree with that. My point of contention is just that when you're regarding traditionalism, I think people met in common settings where they were able to get to know the person before they sort of engaged in any kind of romantic situation. Whereas if you're going to a bar, I think it's more of a setting where you need to have that confidence to do the approaching. And a lot of people don't have that, but my point is it's more something that's happened in the last, I guess, maybe 40, 50 years. Before that I don't think that's how things occurred, how romantic relationships unfolded, where you meet a random stranger at a bar. And then from the bar scene, I think it's so from the scene of common areas, common places where you had friends and family, etc., and then you meet the individual through those means, to the shifting towards the bars and the clubs, and then from that transitioning into the way it is today, which is, yes, partially bars and clubs, but now it's more online, right? So there's quite a bit of shifting that's occurred over the past.
My argument is you are more likely to get into a long-term committed relationship by meeting a woman at a bar over a woman at a club.
Yeah, I agree with you with that.
Right. So you're more likely to have, maybe there's liquid courage that's happening in the system. That's fine. But is it ingenuine in that moment? Because in a bar setting, you can make that moment intimate. It's two chairs, a bartender and you and the woman.
So it's a three-way.
Right? You can say it's a three-way in terms of a conversation. But the only person that you're trying to gain the attention of, and she only has your attention. Right? In a club, there's several other eyes on the same person that you're speaking to. She will not understand a single word you're saying because the music is so loud.
Yeah. Because, we spoke about technology area codes before with traditional dating. And while when people say to me, oh no, we don't have time to date, men and women, I look at it and said, no, it's kind of bullshit. Because people say you can't do the long distance thing. I'll speak from experience. My late father, my mother stayed in Port Elizabeth, my father stayed in Joburg. For 5 years they dated before they got married. And one thing I asked my mother the other day, I said, how did you guys keep the relationship so strong despite the distance? So obviously my father would go every 3 months to PE, and then she'd come to Joburg. But they kept in touch by love letters. And today, when someone says you can't do the long distance thing, I believe it's a bit of cock and bull, because on WhatsApp you can do a video call, you can do it on Skype. Regardless of the time zones, you set it apart because you want to be with that person. And in today's settings, also because you look at it back in the day, it was first an area code. We all know that. We've all had that one crush that we've liked that stayed within our zone.
Yeah.
If that's the right way to phrase it. But like you weren't going to go to Salcourt from Bakerton. You were not going to walk to Salcourt from Bakerton, but you could walk from one extension to Bakerton to another to go and see your partner. And like Silas said earlier, it starts with with primary school, high school, and then university. But it takes you out of dating takes you out of certain elements. So when people say to me, "Oh no, technology, I can't date because of technology, I can't date because of schedule," I actually don't believe that.
Well, another thing that we can put into that, into the heading in terms of what's changed in dating, is money. Right? I feel that when it comes to trying to date a person, the first thing they have to look at is a budget, right? And that spirals into that spirals caused by anxiety into a future that they believe that they're going to be spending a lot of money over a period of time, and they then look at the person and they view it in the sense that is this worth it right now, because I'm starting out, or I just got out of a bad relationship, or etc. The story can continue that way. But money is also a major factor in the sense that I don't have the money or the time to take a person out on a date and take a person out to dinner every weekend or a movie every weekend. So is that the only thing that we do in terms of what happened to the creative element of trying to court a woman? That's the part that I want to know.
Okay, I think I have this. I think I have a way to sort of link this. So you have the technology aspect, which has allowed people to diversify their dating pool, right? And I think with social media, people being able to post their lives, like the updates of what they do from the moment they get up till the moment their head hits the pillow, and everything in between. I think because of that, and the most popular individuals are those that have all the money and have or at least they portray themselves as having this money and having this lifestyle. I think everyone who sees this basically says, I want something like that.
So basically,
I want a piece of that. I want my dating life to be like this person's dating life because it looks like a hell of a lot of fucking fun.
So basically a false sense of security.
I think it's more of an illusion in that essence, right? So that's the part where I throw apps out the window for any traditional man who wants to be respectful and responsible. Rather be confident enough to accept rejection than hide behind glass screens and court your way through that with lies. So first of all, apps are nothing more but an illusion or a big mask that is unnecessary, number one. It causes more insecurities than anything else. It causes a lot more influence on men today. I mean, we look at a lot of things that we see. There's lifestyle posting, there's car postings, and then there's these luxurious item postings or materials, mostly material posting, and we get caught up in that. And so why don't I have that? What am I doing wrong? The truth is, you're not doing anything wrong. In order to obtain those things in life, you have to work hard for it. What you're seeing is not hard work. It's an illusion. And if you want to take it into the dating side, I'd say to you again, it's an irresponsible thing to do. Try it, sure, But if you ever feel that you're going to find a partner that is aligned with your intentions and goals and purposes of life as a man, you are fooling yourself.
Because you mentioned now these influences, and I said it earlier, it's a false sense of security. But we also mentioned money. Now, I always said like this, yeah, we've all been in a stage where we're teenagers, dumbass teenagers, we're broke. But the creativity aspect of it, and I think that's where dating has fallen by the wayside, is if I don't have a lot of money, say I got $200. Ooh, I can't take my girlfriend to Spur. Okay? Fuck that. So pardon the French now. I'm going to say it there and say, why don't I take her to why don't we go on a picnic?
Right.
Right. Traditional sense of dating. Right. We look at engineering and we look at engineering marvels, and why do they stand for so long?
Yeah.
It's because the craftsmanship that goes into a product. You're a Mercedes guy, the craftsmanship that goes into Mercedes can last a lifetime. And we need to, in the dating setting, also need to work with that craftsmanship. We don't want to go and take a simple thing like going out on a date, going out on a hike. Right? That's getting to know the individual.
Right.
Sitting in a restaurant, you've got an X amount of time. You've got X amount of time to sit to get to know the person. When you go on a hike, let's say a 5-kilometer hike, it'll take you at least probably 1.5 hours to 2 hours.
It's a small beginning.
Yes. Quality time. When you're sitting at the lake having a picnic, it's quality time. Unfortunately, we don't have a coast. But you go for a walk on the beach, it's quality time because that time fades. When you go the moment you put money onto a tag, you're putting time onto it also.
Mm-hmm.
And you're limiting yourself. Are you limiting your budget? You're limiting your time, but also you eliminate. The most important thing is you eliminating getting to know that person.
Right.
Because the first date might not go as planned. But if you take the time out and you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to spend a whole day with you. If you enjoy my company, you enjoy my company. If you don't enjoy my company, so be it. Then it's easier for you to move on. They say first impressions last, but sometimes people are nervous with the first impression.
Of course. I always say that the first impression isn't the only impression. The first impression is a mask, and over a period of time, maybe a couple dates in, you're going to notice that the mask is going to come off or fall off over some time. And you start to notice the true person. It's only after maybe the first 3 dates or 4 dates you're going to start to notice, okay, this is when you need to make your decision as to whether you want to be with this person or not, because certain elements of the masks are falling, right? And this is the traditional part that I do believe, right? Men believe that money is needed and necessary in order to court your partner in some way, to be, or the girl that you are looking to date. But it shouldn't be difficult to use the element of creativity. Is that what you're saying? So instead of booking out the marble or tang or something of that nature to be elaborate, and then you can't fill petrol in your car to go to work the next day, rather do it small and simple. If she rejects it, then you know that she's not the person. Is that, can we agree to that?
Yes, because think about it like this, yeah. You're going to have, on a first date, you're going to have now a little picnic, taking out your cloth from home, a little basket. That's not going to cost you 1,000 rand. Right? A couple of fruit, sit there, look at the lake. It's nice because you're looking at nature. And what is nature? Nature's calm, nature's beautiful. Right? Now
nature kind of opens doors to the both of you all to share certain things.
So the important thing is, I don't know if you've read The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma. So it's one of the best books I've ever read. And it speaks about the sages of Savannah and your creative flow and your creative process. And a lot of the time, because of the world that we live in, because it's so busy, look at it like this here. How could marriages before World War One, the husbands go away to war, they come back, traumatized in a lot of time, but those marriages lasted because it was the craftsmanship from the dating that created the final product. Now everybody wants to do quick. When we have speed dating, for example, you got 5 minutes, get to know the person. You cannot tell me that by knowing the person for 5 minutes, you're going to say that's the person I'm spend the rest of my life with. Sometimes you consider the person for a day. I'll give you an example. Whenever Margaret and I go out, we don't go out to fancy places. The first place I took her, ironically, was a church concert for her that the kids were showing at school, at my church, right? And she was so engrossed in it. Why? Because it had nothing to do with material. She came dressed she came with a dress. I took the piss out of her. I said, I'm coming in a kilt. I rock up to her house in a shorts and she's wearing a formal dress.
Oh boy.
Right.
That was pretty funny.
That was hilarious because it's a proper formal dress. And the whole time I took the piss out of her for it. But it was banter between the two of us. And so dating starts.
Okay, so I have a question. A very important one. What is the objective of dating?
Is to find the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with.
From a traditional sense, it's to...
From any sense.
No, from a traditional sense. Right, from a traditional sense, the purpose of dating is to find a partner who you would spend the rest of your life with. End of story. That's by definition.
Right. So if that's the case, what is going to allow you to achieve that end?
Your efforts to show that this person is a very meaningful person in your life.
Okay, and how? Okay, so I guess what I'm trying to get at is what are the qualities, I would say, what is necessary for you guys to get to the happily ever after? As in to sustain that throughout your life. Like what do you think it is?
Okay, so I can say, number one, again, it's subjective, but in a traditional sense, it is creativity. So number one is that if you as a man have a liking towards a woman, fine, it is your duty to pursue, right? Please go on to try many efforts in your pre-courting phase to write letters, send flowers. If you're at a bar, buy her a drink at this point. But that's your duty. It is a responsible duty. The second thing is be ready for one or the other. Be ready for rejection, right? So that means that you kind of saved yourself in that moment from possibly a tumultuous relationship, or she has a partner, or she's not into you. We accept this. We move on. We have a cooling off period. You don't have to jump into another person's bed. You don't have to do any of those things. You have a cooling off period. I call it a nomadic stage. So once you've done your efforts and you are rejected, you have to go back. Maybe there's certain things that you need to rectify about yourself. But if it is a face value kind of thing, there's nothing to rectify about yourself. You need to heal from the rejection. Rejection is painful. How do we endure? We endure through pain and suffering, right? This is one of them. You find another. You do the pre-courting thing again. And you might get accepted on it. You get accepted on it, you have to now establish compatibilities. Certain likes and dislikes. Okay. Some of them are very superficial and some of them are very, call it spiritual. Some of them are goal-driven, purpose-driven. And if they are aligning in a way, or they have aligned, pretty much in the dating space where you can ask each other out in that context. And that continues for an element of many years, or as little as 2 years, and then you get married, you have kids, and you complete the circle. A traditional man who is respectful and respected completes the circle, and that is the purpose of dating.
Okay. I think, see, what I was getting at with that line of questioning is I think that the priorities of individuals today have shifted.
Okay.
Or rather, I don't think they've shifted. I think that people might think that they have. So they prioritize different things, and they think that, for example, money. They think that money is the necessary aspect of a long-term relationship. But
How many people are happy with that? From a relationship aspect.
wait, repeat that? How many people are?
How many couples are actually happy with that?
With the money aspect. I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know either, right?
But if that were the case, most of the world wouldn't be dating because most of the world lives in poverty, right?
And yet,
And yet they still do date. And yet they still have long-term relationships. And yet they still get married and they still have children, etc., etc. So my point is,
just proves our point.
which is what?
Creativity.
Fair enough, but my point, what I'm saying, I'm not disagreeing with your points of creativity. I'm simply stating that people's priorities now have seemingly shifted to something, the material. So they're going off, money is necessary for a relationship to survive long term. Which, exactly, but if you go online, that's why you have all these people who are going on dates and taking them to 1,000 rand dates, and as a guy you have to take this girl on this extravagant date, and that's how you have to court her. It is bullshit. And I think,
Let me share you something with you. On Selena and myself, our second date was at Action Cricket. Right?
okay,
Cheap beer and a view of me playing cricket. There wasn't a lot that was offered on the table on that day, besides hot dogs and castle. And she loved every moment of it.
It's a good thing I wasn't playing that day.
No, to be honest with you, I was just very poorly playing that day as well. I played very poorly on that day. But that's the thing. I asked, she said yes, right? It had nothing to do with the money aspect of it, but it had everything to do with her present, right? Was I going to perform better? Clearly not. But her presence over there was sort of a symbol that she will be there, and I will be there for her as well. But that's the thing, right? So there was no money involved in that.
Yeah.
There was a lot of creativity around it. Maybe not so much, but there was a lot of creativity around getting there. There was a lot of creativity around the conversation that we were having about it. And until this day, it's one of the most talked about dates. You want to have a conversation about poverty and people in poverty and them picking out dates. It's also an evolutionary thing. We are social creatures, right? And as much as we want friendship, the most important thing we want is companionship. So whether you're dating in the area code, where you found them on Instagram, whether you found them working somewhere, you found them, you caught an eye to them, started the dating process, and now you guys are married. It has nothing to do with that element of money. Money, if your pursuit is money, your relationship suffers.
Yes, because how often you and I both watchmen, right? We both love our watches. How often, as a nice example, would you walk, and I'd love it for your life, when you afford a RM06? You said no. It's over R1 million.
Sure.
Now, you're gonna walk with Selena out to a restaurant and you're wearing your RM06. If I'm a robber and I'm gonna come and mug you, you're not gonna worry about Selena, because now the focus is on money. You're gonna worry about that watch, right? And I'm not saying you will do that, but I'm saying a lot of shallow individuals will.
The point of shallowness, yes. So I can say that. I could also say that if I do have a lot of money, I wouldn't care about the watch, but I would worry about my partner.
Yeah.
If I'm at a point where I would purchase an RM, I think I have excess money in some way, but my
it's a one of one.
Even so, it doesn't matter, but it's excess money. Yeah.
Because what I also feel is the money thing is an excuse, right? And we've all used it.
It is.
Guys and girls have used it, right? And when I've had chicks pay for dates with me, right? I'm sure you guys have had the same thing. And you know what the best part was? They will follow up dates. Because there are times in relationships where you might not have to date. And I think that's a misconception, is we think that we always have to have all the time. The reason why marriages before lasted longer than what they last now is, again, when I mentioned the word craftsmanship. A couple will come in if the man has got his business is doing well. And as in every season in our lives, the business hits a blip. And the wife's business takes over and she's doing well. It's not for her to emasculate the man to say that, you know what, I'm going to carry you. She's going to say, babe, we've got this. We can work on these things together. Because that's a part of dating, is you're working on it together. You're getting to know an individual for who and what they are. And I always say that if I come in and I splash 5,000 Rand now on a date, it's going to set a precedent for me to go and spend maybe 10,000 Rand on the next date. And a lot of the time, what guys will do, and hence why I say Andrew Tate is an awful role model for young men. Charlie Kirk was the perfect model. He will go, you go and spend 5 grand, that's on your credit card. Maybe your overdraft is 10,000 Rand. So you're sitting 15 grand out of pocket to impress someone. Where if you take that person, again, on a picnic, it's not going to cost you more than 200 bucks. Most lakes are free. You can take it to Zoo Lake. Zoo Lake, there's no entrance. Go and sit at Zoo Lake, have a nice time. But because you want to show off, you're setting that precedent. I mean, I don't know if you heard about the couple that got married, the couple that proposed in KFC.
I remember that one.
Right. Now we speak about money. Now I'm not gonna shun the guy. Fair play to him and fair play to his partner. They were dating. He didn't have a lot of money, and he proposed to her in KFC. What did KFC do? KFC paid for the wedding. But it's not always about money. You actually want to be with a person for who and what they are. Today we don't fall. What do is we fall for the cosmetic and we fall for the material. We don't fall for the abstract. And I'm not saying you got to look like Garlog and then the world has to love you. Right? I'm saying that if a person goes out, and it takes courage. It takes genuine courage to go up to someone and say, listen, would you like to go out on a date? Right? It's also a setback if the person says no, but it's a victory when they say yes. And you go out on a date and that person looks at you and said, you know what, if I didn't say yes that day, I would have never met the love of my life. That could be the woman's side saying it. The man saying, if I didn't ask her out, I would have never had the love of my life. We gotta look at it and say the fear factor involved of the word no. Siler, you speak a lot about taking L's.
Because I've taken some.
Right. We've all taken L's. Right? But
I'm a premium member of the L buffet, bro.
But we can't speak that into fruition all the time. We have to say, you know what, today I'm going to wake up and it's going to be a fucking W. And how often have we seen guys that have no chance? And I'm not saying in the movies, I've seen with my own eyes, guys that have no chance with that chick.
Mm-hmm.
But it just happens to be that woman might have gotten tired of the pretentious act. And someone comes in all natural. It's like being with a stripper. That stripper from head to toe was plastic. So if I want to hook up with a stripper and I don't have money, I might as well go buy me a blow-up doll. And dating has become now a sense of plastic instead of it actually being natural.
I think I want to close this question on what's changed with dating as the following. Tech has created an illusion of the dating game, demarcated borders, and created expectations that make a person irresponsible. There is no effort, there is no creativity, and therefore there is no action. Chasing the illusion to capture a partner makes you, as a man, weak, disrespected, and disrespectful. I think that's what we concluded, right? There's many elements of creativity that a man needs to put themselves through, right? If you really want to spend some time with this woman or the rest of your life with this, put in the effort. technology has taken away effort and therefore taken away action.
Yes.
If the action is as far as taking your thumb onto a screen and navigating between left and right and up, that is not effort. That is weakness and a lack of confidence in its own way. And I think we can agree on that. Okay, I have another question to try and understand 21st century dating. What does rejection look like today?
6 foot, 6 figures.
You could go in that direction for sure. But is that for the male or the female side?
No, we're talking about rejection for men because
No, I'm talking with I was just making a joke with Shady with the 6 foot 6 figures thing. But I would say that rejection isn't, I guess, what it used to be, because as you said, swipe left, swipe right. If you don't get a match, that's a rejection, right? It's not as hard as it used to be. Whereas if you have the confidence to go in person and ask the question face to face and have her tell you no, that builds your character, right? That builds your resilience to taking losses in reality. Whereas on a screen, your resilience isn't built up because you're swiping left and right and she's swiping left and right and she doesn't swipe right. You don't get the notification, oh, you've been rejected by this individual. It's just nothing until you get a match. It's only skewed towards the positive. And I think in that regard, it does weaken men in general, because it takes away the resilience building, the character building, the character arc, if you will.
Footing and the craftsmanship again.
I think the one thing that I would like to use here is what we call the hero's journey, right? In a face of adversity, a hero has to sort of overcome something. He has to create a sense of reward or accept the consequences of his action. And he has a particular belief structure, right? So in the face of adversary, the only thing he has in his arsenal is his beliefs. And what is his beliefs? So his beliefs is completing the circle, right? So in other words, enhancing legacy or creating an immortality. And the only way to do that is because we aren't immortal, our names are, right? So he wants to go on a dating spree. Well, no, sorry, I take that back. He wants to start dating and he wants to capture a woman's heart, and wants to get married and live a very long, happy life. That is his belief. What is affecting his belief is the rejection, which can alter a person's belief structure. Maybe I should do it this way. Maybe I should go onto those apps that mean absolutely nothing, and maybe I should do it this way. Maybe if I go to a club, I'll find someone who would be happy enough to go home with me and then wake up to a story to say, you know what, we should do it again sometime, and never gets called again. Or he wakes up and she's gone. Right? So all of these things can influence your beliefs. But in a space, in a hero's journey, irrespective of all of the things that he has experienced, the pain, the suffering, he still sticks to his belief. And he's either rewarded with a very, very lovely woman that he meets by luck or not, but he meets them, and that is the reward of the hero, right? That's the hero's journey in my mind. So you're right in the sense that in order to build character, one must endure the pain of rejection.
But
yeah,
but I think this is why I'm looking at rejection now, and this is why we've got such a big problem with GBV in this country. Gender-based violence, right? We speak about taking losses, right? And it's all about how you grow up, right? As kids, you lose in a video game, we get angry, we laugh about it, we try and better ourselves. Now, what happens when someone's been pushed to the edge all the time? Because this is where someone sees someone, if I can't have you, no one can have you. We've seen this in the movies, we've seen this with men and women, right? And the issue that when I look at how do you overcome rejection in the dating sector, is that we are allowed to have so many sexual partners. Right? The world has moved into a direction where we've allowed for that. Right? You'll get a woman that's been completely scorned and she says, I'm saving for marriage, when she's got 3 kids. Right? Now, it's not fair on the guy that's going there to endure all of that trauma, all of that unnecessary admin. In the same way that a woman who meets a guy who's got multiple kids from multiple women, it's not fair on that woman also to endure all the baby mama drama.
Right.
So, where I'm going to say with rejection, it comes to a stage where you also look for inner peace. And I think what we've done is a lot of guys that get rejected, and a lot of girls, they use peace as a comfort and not as a challenge anymore. Because I've been rejected once, I've been rejected twice, 3 times. Now, fuck it. I'm not going to go talk to anybody. I'm going to live my life alone. Right? And what happens is people think, yeah, you're at peace. No, you're actually more miserable because you don't have that companion. I once said to a feminist who told me she's got a dog, I asked her, what's the lifespan on a dog? You cannot compare the lifespan of a dog to a human being. Obviously, we can go at any time. Anything can happen. But if you're going to look at the natural aspect of life, you're going to be 30 and you get your dog. Your dog's not going to be with you when you're 60. Your husband might. Because the maximum amount of time a dog's going to be with is probably 15 years.
Yeah.
I think what you're getting, like, what you're moving towards there, what I picked out is boundaries.
Yes.
Right? I think that individuals these days don't have those.
Because
Especially men these days, because they're willing to accept a lot of things that they shouldn't be in the dating scene.
Can you tell me more and give me an example?
Oh, we're going to get into a very controversial thing now. I would say the most talked about and easy one to give is something like body count. So, do you think a man should accept someone who has like 100 bodies? A girl who slept around with 100 people? Do you think that would be responsible? Do you think that would be a man who portrays strength to accept a woman who has slept with 100 people?
I like this question.
You can answer it if you like. Start with it, Shady.
Is a responsible thing for a man to do? No.
Okay, but do you think now, and we have to flip the coin now. We have to flip the coin because it's a level playing field.
I disagree.
No. Bear with me when I say this.
Okay.
Because I'm a firm believer in this, right? Spirituality beliefs, right? Everybody is equal before their maker, right? Whether you're a man or a woman, right? The one thing, when you die, your redemption arc is how you've forgiven people, and that's across all faiths. Now, I say if a woman's had a high body count, let's just say I'm not saying Bonnie. I don't like to use Bonnie Blue as an example. But let's use Bonnie Blue, right? 100 squared.
Yeah.
Right, her body count. There's too many zeros for me to pronounce. Now, if she's met a guy who doesn't know of her past, right, and she's redeemed herself and she's repented and she said to herself, you know what, I have fucked up. In the same way that a guy who slept with 100 women shouldn't be entitled to a virgin. You shouldn't. Because why are you sleeping with that many women in the first place? In the same way we ask, why is a woman sleeping with that many men? We should ask a guy, why are you sleeping with that many women?
Look, I think...
Because the players, everybody looks at me and says, hey, I'm a player. You're not a fucking player. You're a fucking coward. Because if you are in a committed relationship with someone or you're dating someone, then you don't look out of the 18 area. You focus in the box. That's your penalty. You shoot it. Sometimes you miss, sometimes you score. But what I'm saying is, like Barney Stinson, you guys have a daughter. Would you encourage your daughter to date a Barney Stinson? Because I wouldn't encourage my son to date a Robert Shabatsky.
Okay.
Why? Because, and I'm going to say this again. If I'm a womanizer, right? And I'm going to look at it specifically from the man's aspect. If I'm a womanizer, what kind of example would I want? What kind of example am I going to set as a father for my daughter? If I'm a complete womanizer. Because she's going to look at it and she's going to say, you know what? My dad has been sleeping around with many other women. That's how you have the dad problems. I'm no psychologist, but you can see the pattern.
I think when it comes to men and women,
Yes.
having multiple partners or multiple sexual partners with a lack of commitment comes from a very deep-rooted trauma, one, or a deep-rooted anxiety, right? Maybe there was countless amount of rejections that happened over a period of time, which resulted in this person, rather than getting hurt more and more, I would just endure these short-term moments of pleasure and intimacy and then hurt myself after I'm done with that, because it is painful. And why is it painful? Because the companionship part is missing. You have, in that moment, that is not companionship. That's satiating something that is, well,
The false narrative.
that it's a false narrative, but it's also satiating one of our basic needs for survival, right? And it also feels good. But irrespective of that, it is something. If you have a lot of sexual partners, there is some level of pathology. There is pathology. I'm not saying it's a like a terrible pathology, but it's something that you need to work on, right? And I think there's a lot of fear to work on those things, because you have to unlock a lot of doors, which open these doors open to these memories that you have of pain and suffering. And it's okay. So like my answer to your question is no for both. Why? Right? If a man has 100 as a body count, is he a loyal man? Loyalty in the element of a traditional man is an important prerequisite. It's important all the way through. In order to be responsible, you have to be loyal. Why is that necessary? Because loyalty builds trust, right? Number two, and then loyalty also shows your commitment. So that means the most important thing to a man is not his car, it's not his job, it's not his office, it's not anything that he has on a materialistic nature. The most important thing for a man is his word. If a man gives you his word and he sticks to his word, that is a responsible man. That is a traditional man. That is a man worth keeping, I would say. But if you have a person who is gonna tell you that, don't worry, baby, I'm going to do it, and doesn't do it, what sort of man have you married? If you had to look at it from a woman's perspective, does he have a word? No, therefore he is disloyal.
I agreed. I like the way you put that. And just to link it to that boundary thing, I think that a lot of individuals today don't have the perspective you just provided. So they don't see it from as a man, their word is paramount. And I don't think they see loyalty as part of something that builds trust and is necessary for a long-term relationship. And I think that because of this, I guess, maybe lack of perspective, they are accepting things they shouldn't. So they don't have those boundaries in place. And I think that part of being in a healthy relationship and being a responsible man is to have those boundaries set and to stick to those boundaries.
So if your boundary is you want to find a woman that has a very little body count, for example, make sure you don't have a massive body count that can rival the Trump Tower.
Yes.
You see, that doesn't make sense. So you can have this conversation about the context of men need to procreate in order to fresh and fit, but no, doesn't make sense. You can continue your legacy with just the circle that you've made, your ecosystem.
And another thing, that pisses me off, because what Adib is saying now, right? A responsible man is someone who takes ownership, right?
Yes.
Now, in a marriage, notice one thing. After a few years, both of them, even though they've been in the gym, they'll both start putting on a bit of weight, right? Which is nothing wrong with that, because you're happy, you're comfortable with each other.
I can say.
Right? But you mentioned now fresh and fit, right? And that fucking moron Myron.
Right.
Myron is a moron. Andrew Tate is a moron. That other ginger that's on that show sometimes is also a moron. Oh, I need to procreate. What the fuck is wrong with adoption?
Mm-hmm.
We have millions of kids in the world, right, that don't have parents. And that's through no fault of their own. Why not adopt that kid? Because that's what a responsible man would do. Adopt the kid, put him into your circle.
Right.
Right? Say what you want to about the Hollywood marriage between Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. But they went and they adopted children. Right? Why do you see the need now to go in, sleep around, procreate, and have 5 different women? When you can have 5 different kids from different households. Our favorite DC movie, Justice League. Zack Snyder. I take my hat off to Zack Snyder, right? Not as a director, but as a human being. He's got 8 kids. 2 are biological, 6 have been adopted. Right? So when we look at the process and the concept that a man has to procreate, yes, it's fine. A woman has to procreate. But look at the aspect of how many orphan kids are there out there. And we're talking about dating, because dating leads to marriage. Doesn't mean you got to take your dipstick and put it somewhere else. We got to sit with discernment and look at the fact to say that, hey, I'm a father. Dip is now, him and Selena are married. You are a Charlie Sheen, you're a lifelong bachelor, right? So Margaret and I are married. And now we say, okay, the Dip's got 3 kids. Selena says, you know what, we don't need to have our own kids again. Let's go and adopt. Right? It's not to say anything, but it's to also think of yourself as a responsible man to try and level the playing field for that kid that has shown no love. The reason why we have a lot of shit that goes on in the world, especially in the dating pool, is a lot of people that will come through orphanages, that will come from broken homes, haven't had that love. And that's why that's why dating today is so difficult, because it's unnecessary competition within yourself.
I just want to touch on what you said about the orphans. And I think there's so many kids that grow up without parents because of this idea of I have to procreate. But there's no responsibility taken for that procreation. If you're going to procreate, you should take responsibility for.
So what happens if a kid's parents is killed in a war?
Sure, there's exceptions to that, right?
That's what I said.
Is every orphan's parents killed in a war?
No, some parents just leave their kids alone.
Right. So if I'm saying that, barring the circumstances where they're killed in wars and other ways of both parents dying, I'm saying that if you're gonna procreate, to be a responsible individual, to be a man, as you say, would be to take responsibility for the child that you have created, right?
Yes.
Or helped create. Whereas, if I understand you correctly, the individuals who preach to go and have multiple children with multiple women, that and don't take responsibility for that, those are not real men.
Yeah, those are fucking morons. Those are cowards.
Okay.
Right? Because when you have your Andrew Tate talking about courting a woman, oh, I'm driving a Bugatti. I'm wearing a Patek. So fucking what? Right? I'm not saying it because I'm not driving a Bugatti. I'm not saying because I don't own a Patek. I'm saying it is that is the wrong example to listen to. We can sit and listen to. We spoke off air, listening to Matt Walsh. Matt Walsh has got 4 kids. What did Matt Walsh say? You said it best. He's got common sense.
He does.
Dating is about discernment and common sense. Again, it's also about creativity. Because if you're gonna be with someone, you went out on a date with Selena at Action Cricket and you were playing shit. Did she come there to watch you play Action Cricket and score 60 in the skin, or did she come there to watch a dip?
She came there for me.
She came there for you. It's taking the time out to spend with the individual. It wasn't a fancy date, but it was 2 people that got together, had a very, very good time. And that is where the dating aspect needs to be. It needs to be simplified, because AI and everything that you see on Instagram is all fucking fake.
Right. So I think I'm going to close this question by saying the following. Men build character through rejection, but will continue his pursuit. A responsible man will not be hypocritical. He will have a firm standard which mirrors their own. A man who demands what is contradicted as of his own and expects more than what he deserves is a weak, disrespectful, and disrespected man with no confidence and therefore not dangerous.
I agree with that.
Right. Okay. Last question for this segment or this episode. Do you all have a message for abusive men who hurt their wives?
Well, a lot can be said.
One message.
So in all forms of abuse,
Yes.
I'd say the first one, and it's going to sound corny, but simplified. Repent. Ensure that you don't do it again. And if you're faced in that situation, gain the self-control, go away, but more importantly, as you do in rehab, get a sponsor. Have someone on speed dial to say, I am going back in that direction and I need your assistance.
Okay.
I need you to be there for me.
Thank you, Shady, for that one. Tyler?
I don't necessarily have sort of a message for them. It's just,
Or a statement.
I guess it's clearly pathological to want to abuse someone who, because obviously females are generally weaker in terms of physical strength than men on average. So why are you hitting your wife? Why are you picking on someone that's weaker? Why don't you go to a boxing gym and pick on the coach? You know? Go to an MMA class if you got that much rage or anger. That's what you don't punch down. And you beating on your wife, who is actually the person you're supposed to protect along with the rest of your family, that's weakness. You are a weak individual. You're not a man.
I think for a message from me for the abusive men out there, I would say that they have, from a maturity point, they have underdeveloped.
Yes.
But from a tantrum point of view, they have overdeveloped. So by definition, an abusive man is a man with an overdeveloped tantrum because he cannot get what he wants. And therefore, he cannot get it by himself. And the only way that he can ever get what he wants is through harming his partner. So, I just want, if there are women listeners out there, just remember that if you are in an abusive relationship, emotional, psychological, physical, Your man is an irresponsible man with an overdeveloped tantrum. But do not be fooled by the word tantrum, because it is dangerous to you. And you are right, Sila. This man is weak, irresponsible, disrespectful, and non-traditional. Okay, so we're going to close this segment off. Guys, thank you. I think this was a wonderful one. This was a good conversation to have. I think the next topic we're going to try and talk about is...
It's not bad for cowboys to cry.
So then I think what we're gonna coin it. Our next topic of discussion is, who do men trust to cry with? So guys, thank you for coming. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in, and catch you in the next one.